We're on a mission to feed the future by helping farmers worldwide be more resilient, more productive, more sustainable for generations to come. Corteva Agriscience. Keep growing.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio.
Hello and welcome to this January 16th episode of RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. I am your host for the day, Lyndsey Smith. And being Thursday, that means, yes, of course, it is time for the Farmer Rapid Fire brought to you by Corteva Agriscience. Head on over to corteva.ca and keep growing. All right. We've got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to start in Alberta, stop in Manitoba, 2 stops in Ontario, and then, of course, we'll have a rep from Corteva Agriscience join us for the end of the show with our top agronomic topic of the week. I've got a question for you that I will also pose to the farmers in today's show. And frankly, I think that there's no wrong answer. I think that there's a lot of answers, and I'd love to hear your feedback. My question this week, it is, what does it mean to be Canadian? What makes us Canadian? What makes us unique, different than our American counterparts? Didn't necessarily say better, just different. What makes us us? That's the question I'm going to pose. You can, of course, call the RealAg feedback line 1-855-776-6147. You can drop me an email, lsmith@realagriculture.com, or you can find us across social media as @RealAgriculture. I personally am at @RealLoudLyndsey. Lyndsey is spelled with a Y and an E, so good luck finding me. All right, let's start our Farmer Rapid Fire with Kresten Jorgenson out of Special Areas, Alberta. How are you, sir?
Hi, good. How about you?
I'm doing well. What's keeping you busy on the farm today?
Well, right now we're just heading into our busiest time of the year, I would say. So we're calving and getting ready to clip the bulls and heifers for the sale, and then next week will be pictures, and shortly after that, videos and all that stuff for our sale. Nice.
Okay, so for those who don't know, what kind of cattle do you have? How many years have you been doing this sale?
This will be our 13th year for having the sale. It'll be our 3rd year having it right on our farm here. It's purebred Simmentals that we have, and we've been in that since 96.
Cool. Okay, Simmentals. Fantastic breed. I'm a big fan. Do people still pay for the traditional patterns? Are they going all solid colors? Am I causing major controversy here by even asking?
Well, we don't have any of the traditional colors. We just have straight red as our main thing, and we also have straight black and red white face. Getting into black white faces, we're just having the first black white face calves being born this year on our place. Yeah. We're not in any of the full bloods or flexies that have the traditional colors. Haven't been for over 20 years.
I'll say this. Someone told me this, and it holds for all livestock. A good animal isn't a bad color. So while people have their preferences, it's okay, regardless of what they are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like my straight reds, but yeah, there are definitely people that they come and they want black and black only, or they want the red white face, and it's, whatever. Everyone has their preferences.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes all kinds, so that's okay. Now, you also have, you're also calving. So have you started calving already, or are you getting ready to go?
Yeah, we're started. We have 28 calves right now.
Nice. And how has it gone so far? How's the weather been?
Weather's been awesome.
Sweet.
At the very start, like before we were just a couple early ones, it was quite cold. I think we only had 2 during it, like the first week of January. And since then, it's been really nice. Like, I know you guys, Eastern Canada has been cold.
Yeah.
But
it hasn't been
like
great.
what are we right now? Like -3 maybe or something like that. Like it's quite nice.
Yep. That's
-2 it says.
That's perfectly fine for calving. That's all right.
Yeah, it's been perfect. It's supposed to get cold this weekend, but only real cold for 3 days, and then probably seasonal, like -15 or something like that.
Yep. So with where you're at in your business and having your own sale and that sort of stuff, do you hope for bull calves, or are you expanding and you want some heifers? Do you care either way, or is it just healthy calves?
Mainly just a healthy calf. I always like the bull calves more because we always end up with plenty enough heifers. We actually sell about 50 heifers at our bull sale too. So yeah, we do good on the heifers too, but I always like having bulls, just having more to choose from.
Mm-hmm. Let's face it, the right bull, you probably need 20 or 30 to pick the best one, whereas heifers, well, you need more of them. So, hey, it's okay. So yeah, if you're in the bull business, having more bull calves makes sense. All right. Now, so let's get a plug in though, just quickly. So you're hosting your sale on your farm. It's your 3rd year on farm, 13th year hosting the sale. Is there a website people can go to go check it out? Cause I would also like to check it out.
Yeah, once our catalog's ready, that'll probably be in a month or so, hopefully less, is when it'll be posted. And either on Transcon's website, that's transconlivestock.com, or on our website, which is camdencattle.ca. It's CAMDEN, cattle. We post it on both of those. And then we're going to DLMS this year too, so It'll be on there too.
Awesome. Okay, everybody check it out.
And then I'm always posting it on Twitter and Facebook too, but I'm always told I don't post enough on either of those. So
you got to pick your favorites, get them out there, create some buzz. Yeah. Yeah,
that's what I'm told I don't do enough of.
Okay, there you go. You can work on that for this year. Okay, so we'll check it out when it's ready. Yeah. When the catalog's ready, that's awesome. Okay, so I'm asking. I got time for the question of the week. Obviously you're busy calving, you're busy getting the bulls ready, but clearly there's a lot going on with Canada-U.S. relations and all those sorts of things. And I am asking this week, in light of all of those conversations, what it means to you to be Canadian. So it's a big question, but I think most of us have an idea, but I think it's important to articulate it sometimes. So what do you think it means to be Canadian?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I don't even know. I guess kind of the whole mix thing, like we do have the social programs that say the States doesn't have, and the free healthcare, of course, is a big one for everybody. And actually, I think there's Trudeau, so maybe I shouldn't repeat it, but he said the biggest thing is we're not American, and that's one way that we really distinguish ourselves in the world is we're not American. So, yeah, I don't know. And all of our ancestors came here to Canada for all the opportunity, and some people, even my father-in-law, like he came from South Africa in his late 20s or 30s, and he made a life here, like coming from another country, and there's just tons of opportunity for whoever you are. All you have to do mainly is work hard or find something that you like and stick to it. And so, yeah, there's not all that many countries in the world where you can start with nothing and end up with a lot.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. And we do have a few immigrants in our family, and they all say like they came here for a reason. Canada is the best country in the world. So, and it's actually those people that defend Canada more than anybody. It's kind of funny that way. People that weren't born here defend it the most.
So you know what? You're exactly right. I think one of the interesting things in seeing, sort of this conversation rolling out, online, et cetera, is that it does certainly seem that, those who have perhaps most recently moved here, so whether that's they themselves or just their parents or whatever, are really staunch believers and very proud to be in Canada and as Canadians. And you're probably right. We probably, for those maybe who are second, third, fourth generation here, maybe we take too much of it for granted. Because it is a country that people want to come to and want to make a life and can make a life, which is not, you're right. We can't say that for everywhere. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough question.
Yeah, I know. I like it. I like asking the tough ones because I think it's important. Like, this is one of the things that, when someone says, "Hey, why doesn't Canada just become a state?" To me, that's really disrespectful because it completely sort of assumes that we're just this, amorphous, giant, frozen country, and don't have our own identity, but we actually do, and I think we're quite proud of it, and it probably needs to be talked about more than we do. So
yeah, I saw Ford's wearing a hat today that says Canada's not for sale.
that's right. I saw that too, and I agree with my premier. Canada is not for sale. It's a pretty good hat. Not sure where we find one, but maybe we'll go looking, and we can get one too.
Yeah, that will be the new mega hat.
Yeah, exactly. We're not for sale. Don't ask.
He made it red too with white writing. So
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny.
It's pretty clever. All right, Kresten. Thanks so much for joining me on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks a lot for having me.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and hop back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agriscience, right after this.
Farm smarter with SGS. Our expert seed testing ensures your crops start strong and thrive. From germination to vigor to disease testing, SGS delivers results you can trust. Plus, we've added new wheat midge refuge varieties perfect for seed growers. Need precision? Explore our seed testing packages with built-in savings. Call us today at 1-800-952-5407 or visit cropscience.sgs.ca. SGS, when you need to be sure.
The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com is your one-stop shop for everything a canola grower needs. Check out our free video series on YouTube for all the latest in canola agronomy, research, marketing, and more. Don't have time to watch? Download the podcast version of the Canola School on RealAgriculture.com or anywhere you download your podcasts. Stay on top of all things canola with the Canola School on RealAgriculture.com, brought to you by BASF and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
Infuse some energy into your next corporate event, customer meeting, or conference with RealAg Radio, Canada's national agriculture radio show. Create a unique experience at your next event with host Sean Haney, broadcasting RealAg Radio live on SiriusXM, featuring exciting guests, captivating interviews, and the latest news from the agriculture community. Contact advertising at realagriculture.com or call 587-787-1795 to book your on location with RealAg Radio today. Welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio, channel 147, Sirius XM. It is January 16th. It is Thursday, and therefore, say it with me now, the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agriscience. All right, after heading away from Alberta, we are now going to land in Manitoba. Well, we're going to find out exactly where we are right now. All right, joining me now from Marchand, Manitoba, it's Richard Carr. How are you, Richard?
Not too bad. How are yourself?
I'm doing well. Now, for those who don't know, where is Marchand, Manitoba?
Marchand is in the southeast corner of Manitoba. We're about half an hour from the U.S. border and 45 minutes from the Ontario border.
Yeah, it is the little corner tucked away there.
Sure.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so what is keeping you busy on the farm this week?
This week, we're just kind of in the winter routine, just feeding cows and bedding and milking cows and just all things taking care of cows. And when we're not busy doing that, then we're trucking kids to hockey rinks and all that good stuff. And
enjoying rink burgers. Do you have a favorite?
I mean, our local rink, the Brokery is our local rink, and that's probably got the best food around, I'm going to say. If you want a good poutine, the Brokery rink is a real good poutine.
I would agree. It's a good one. Now, keeping the cows comfortable, of course. How has the weather been? If I'm correct, it's been quite variable, up and down, and that's maybe stressful on animals sometimes.
Yeah, it really has. It's been a roller coaster of last month here. You know, like this week we had minus 30 2 days ago, and this afternoon they're forecasting plus 2 with some pretty strong winds. So it's been up and down, but just the normal routines of lots of bedding, keep the feed bunks full, check the water troughs, those good things. And, if you do all those things every day, then usually the cows are fairly content.
Yep, absolutely. Although, you're probably like me. I would like it to just sort of pick a direction and stay there, maybe.
I would too.
Yeah.
I don't mind the cold. If you want to stay minus 15, minus 20, I'm just fine with that.
Yeah, but it's always nicer if it stays. But we don't get to control it, that's for sure. No,
we don't.
Absolutely not. Now, how did the year go for you? How was your 2024?
2024 is a good year for us. We started out a little bit on the wet side, and planting was a little bit delayed, but we got seeds in the ground eventually, and everything came out. I'd say yields are above average, and for the type of crops we grow here, alfalfa and corn, we did very well. So good feed inventories, and overall it was a good year.
All right. Can't complain when you got lots of feed. That's always a good feeling.
That's a very good feeling. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so this works out well for my question of the week in that. First, let's start with, I won't tell you what it is just yet, but you are, as you mentioned, you're not far from the U.S. border, not far from the Ontario border. So does that mean that you head down to the States for like everyday things, or is it still pretty tough to get to and you're not necessarily a border town?
No, we're not a border town. Steinbach, Manitoba will be our kind of our hub, for most of our shopping and parts and that kind of thing. We used to go down to the States a lot more often, but now with the dollar the way it is, it's not the savings it used to be. So now we kind of only head down there if it's for a hockey tournament or a basketball tournament or some sports-related thing. Yeah,
that dollar really hurts. No deals to be had when we have a 60
deals at all.
None at all. And frankly, it's not, there's not enough novelty to make it worth it when our dollar is this low.
No.
That's for darn sure. So now, but does that, so with, of course, a new president coming in next week and the threat of tariffs and those sorts of things, being, so close to the U.S. and usually being something that you would frequent pretty often, what are your thoughts on that? How do you feel about sort of what's all happening down south?
I don't know. I don't know whether or not I need to take President coming in Trump seriously or not. I'm not quite sure yet. I really hope that these 25% don't get imposed. I really hope that this meeting right now with their outgoing Prime Minister and all the premiers, that they can come up with some kind of a quick solution to kind of hold President Trump at bay. But we're just kind of in we'll wait and see kind of mode. I'm not quite sure which way to go yet, so I think we're just going to wait and see what Monday will bring.
Mm-hmm. I think many of us are in the same boat. We're all hoping for the best, but not entirely sure what it might look like. Now, that does bring up, though, my question of the week that, and I mean, it could be very serious or it could be a lot of fun. I'm not sure. But it does bring up, I think, with, President-elect Trump talking about making Canada the 51st state, and some people think he's kidding and some people think he's serious, and what would that actually look like? But to me, it has brought up this question of, I think for many of us, it's made us, it makes us stop in our tracks a bit, and it's not something we want and don't even like that sort of line of thinking. But to me, it means that we have to sort of articulate what it means to be Canadian. And so that's my question for the farmers this week, is what do you think sets us apart? What does it really mean to you? What does it mean to be Canadian?
Oh, that's a really good question. Man, I wish I had time to think of that one a little more. I guess, for me as a dairy farmer in Canada, under supply management, that is what sets us apart. I think our supply managed system is a system that works very well. And I'm really hoping that all this tariff talk and renegotiation talk doesn't affect my end of the business. And I hope that whatever the elections happen here in Ottawa, and whenever they do get called, that doesn't affect it either. And, I think our supply management system works very well. I know there's a lot of people that don't agree with me, but, I think all of us dairy farmers agree that it's a good system, and I really hope that stays in place. But, Canadians, we are a very proud bunch. I know our neighbors to the south, they are as patriotic as it comes, and I think they show it in a little bit different way than we do, but Canadians are also extremely patriotic, and I'm a very proud Canadian farmer.
That's fantastic. And certainly you're right. I mean, as a dairy farmer, it becomes, these discussions are incredibly stressful in a lot of ways in not knowing what's to come with the CUSMA or USMCA deal, and a review or a renegotiation definitely creates a lot of stress for sure. So we'll see how it all shakes out in the next little while, which is kind of stressful, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. But it's one where I don't think you can get, for myself, I don't get too deep into it. I just kind of, I know it's there, And as farmers, we're very quick to react to any kind of a change. So, positive, negative change, we'll react to it in the best way possible, I think. And, we'll just kind of wait and see what comes, and we'll deal with the challenge when it gets here.
Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, eat a lot of rink burgers and poutine.
Lots of rink burgers, lots of poutines, and cheer on our LeBrook rehabs.
There you go. All right. It is the LeBrook rehabs. Is it really? That's fantastic.
Yeah, LeBrook rehabs.
Oh, I love it. Okay. I had someone ask, why do people call the Montreal Canadiens the Habs? And I said, well, it's because of the habitants. And then they looked at me like I had two heads. So not everybody understands our history, I guess. So there's that. All right. Okay. Richard, thank you so much for joining me on the Farmer Rapid Fire. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a quick break from the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agriscience, and we'll be back with more right after this.
There's power, and then there's superpower. Advancing the unstoppable superpower of pre-seed from New Farm. Take control. Eliminate weed competition and start clean in spring. Manage weeds early in canola, cereals, and pulses. Conquer, Goldwing, Thunderhawk, and Blackhawk EVO. Convenient formulations and multiple modes of action. Add more power to glyphosate, more benefits to your burn down. Go to newfarm.ca/burndown.
Before you get back in the field this year, spend some time with the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com. Get all the information you need on hybrid selection, planting depth, crop inputs, and more from a wide range of industry experts. A massive library of video content is available on demand when you need it most. Spend your time outside of the field, inside the classroom, with the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com.
Get all the information you need to keep your pulse crop healthy and profitable with the Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com. The Pulse School is a free YouTube video series covering agronomy, research, and more across a host of different pulse crops. It's also available as an audio podcast wherever you download or stream your favorite podcast. Check us out on YouTube or visit RealAgriculture.com. The Pulse School, brought to you by BSF Canada.
Welcome back to Real Ag Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. It is Thursday. It is the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agriscience, and I am your host, Lyndsey Smith. All right, we are leaving the West behind, and we are headed to Ontario. We'll start in Binbrook, Ontario, with Mr. Drew Spoelstra. How are you, Drew?
Hey, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. It is mid-January, apparently, which is ridiculous. What's keeping you busy? Are you staying warm?
I'm staying warm here at the OFA office today. That's keeping me pretty busy lately. But other than that, on the farm, busy with the cows and keeping everybody comfortable here. Mm-hmm. And shipping a bit of grain here and there and thinking about getting stuff ready for spring at some point.
Whoa. Slow down. It's only mid-January, I said.
Well, I say that, but it doesn't actually happen.
No, exactly. Okay. So it's your intention. You're like, it's the intending to start the plan of getting ready for spring.
Yeah, thinking about it.
Thinking about it. Okay. Yes, OFA president, of course, as you mentioned, you're at the office. What's the busiest file right now? What are you guys working on?
Probably busiest file right now is all the action in Ottawa and federal stuff going on in terms of election planning and what happens during prorogation, what's to come in terms of things like capital gains and carbon tax, and obviously the trade files, potential tariffs coming maybe next week, maybe not, who knows, what's going to be the implication on Ontario farmers and farmers across Canada over the next little while. So those are all definitely hot topics. We've got the Rural Ontario Municipal Association meetings coming up this weekend, and looking forward to going there and having conversations with municipal and provincial leaders and talking about farmland, talking about the importance of preserving as much farmland as we can and all things agriculture at those meetings. So this is meeting season. We're getting into the heart of it and looking forward to having a lot of good conversations with folks across the province over the next little while.
Mm-hmm. Pointy shoe season. That's what it is. I was going to make some joke about like what's happening in Ottawa. What do you mean? But there you go. It is an interesting time. It is an incredibly confusing time for some of these files. Capital gains, I know, is one that we have sort of been trying to make sure we're getting the right answers on as far as what happens with the changes that came in June, for sure. So that has been interesting. I mean, Ontario is obviously an incredibly important province in Confederation for trade, and of course, agriculture plays a big part of that. So, but I mean, but you're a provincial organization. So, how do you navigate sort of that in between of being, a really important part of the conversation, but also not federal, provincial?
Yeah, I think it comes down to making sure that we have the right relationships in place, that we continue those conversations with the folks in the federal organizations, whether those are federal commodity groups or, the Canadian Federation of Agriculture and those groups. But like you said, I think we're an important stakeholder when it comes to federal politics as well. We're the largest provincial general farm organization across the country. It's $50 billion in GDP. It's 870,000 jobs coming out of agriculture and food in Ontario. So it's an important part of the country. It's an important part of the conversation economically, and it's a frustrating time right now with what we're seeing coming out of the States, and challenges obviously in leadership positions in Ottawa, and we want to continue those conversations and try and put our best foot forward as an industry, as a country, and it creates a lot of challenges with what's going on right there now. So
I think that it's interesting to me in all of this, what has sort of transpired when you think like per province, the weakening dollar, is a benefit for some, definitely hurts on other side, whether it's parts or whatever the case may be. But, every province has different things that are a huge economic driver that go to the U.S. or perhaps key things that come in. Ontario is, of course, one of those that from many different sectors is very integrated with the U.S. So it's an interesting time. The premiers are meeting today in Ottawa. I was not invited. I'm going to assume, Drew, neither were you. But from that end or to that end, from a provincial standpoint, as you point out, 50 billion in GDP, with agriculture and agri-food in this province, and trade with the U.S. is an important part of that. So, how has OFA been pushing hard with the Premier and with the Premier's office to stay coordinated on what the messaging is going forward?
Yeah, definitely having conversations with our provincial representatives, certainly the Minister of Agriculture and on up from there. But, I know they're meeting today to talk about the path forward, potential retaliatory tariffs, what the Canadian response is going to be and those types of things. It's important that, we on the ground continue to have these conversations as well and are aware of what's coming down the pipeline. We met with representatives from Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada as a board yesterday, and had a good conversation with them on the path forward. We're heading down, a couple of us from OFA and some other Canadian delegates as well are heading down to the American Farm Bureau convention next weekend to further some of those conversations and continue to build some of those relationships with our state partners down there in terms of agriculture partners and U.S. representatives to really try and get them to drive the narrative in the United States about the integrated relationship as well. It's billions of dollars that we're talking about in terms of two-way trade both ways, and there's a beneficial relationship for both sides of the border. And, those are the conversations that we continue to try to have.
Mm-hmm. So my question of the week dovetails into this nicely. And usually, Drew, we have much more fun conversations than this. So I'm not sure why we're so serious. We should really... someone needs to crack a joke or something here. But these are important times. And so I use humor as a way to manage stress. So that's why, everybody. But Sean wrote a column that is getting some interesting feedback. Not everybody is on side. That's okay. That's an opinion column. But I have sort of my own column rattling around in my head. And I think that we are at this interesting juncture of like this question of what it means to be Canadian. And Sean's point was just saying we're not American is not enough. Like, what are we, not what aren't we? And so I am asking my question this week, what do you think it is? What are our unique things? What does it mean for you? What do you think it means to be Canadian? What's most important?
Well, I wasn't prepared for that question. That's a tricky one. And don't tell Sean. Don't tell Sean I didn't read his column. I just haven't got to that yet.
It's okay. It's allowed.
But I think it means a lot of good things. I think it means partnerships. I think it means relationships. I think it means doing things the right way, if you want to call it the Canadian way. I think it means that, you have the freedom to do the things that you want to do on your own, whether it be in your own farms, your own businesses, within reason. And, having the ability to grow and prosper and be part of an industry that's a big part of our country's fabric. And, I think there's a lot of good things that we can continue to do here in Canada, that we can continue to expand on. We obviously need the right conditions, whether that's the government or, economic conditions and things like that to do that. But, I think when you talk with folks across the country, folks across North America, they certainly understand those things. And it's about getting that message up to the people in the high positions as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. That sounds good. Now, coming back to the farm, busy, obviously. Yeah. What is the biggest challenge in all the meetings? As you said, you've listed now you're going to the States shortly. Lots to do with provincial and federal counterparts. Do you have good help on the farm? How do you make it all happen?
Yeah, we do. My parents are still really involved in the farm. We've got a full-time hired man there as well. My wife is busy when I'm not around as well. She was in the barn last night for me fetching cows, and so, yeah, we've got some good help. I mean, it's not always perfect. We try and do the best we can do, but it is tough when I'm away quite often, and more often than not, I guess, some of these days. Certainly tough on family life and things like that, but we make the best of it. We got away over the holidays with the kids down to Florida for a little while and spent some time with the family and try and make the most of it when I am home and do what we can to move the farm forward as best we can as well. So
all right. Sounds good.
You need good teams both here at OFA and at home, and it takes a whole team effort to make it all work.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, Drew, I thank you very much for joining me on the Farmer Rapid Fire, and good luck with the meetings. Keep us posted.
All right, Lyndsey. Have a great one.
All right, we're going to take a quick break from the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agriscience. Head on over to corteva.ca for more information. And we're going to hop now north to Renfrew, Ontario, or near Renfrew. But we'll take a break, and we'll be back with more right after this.
What's next doesn't happen by accident, doesn't happen by chance.
What's next happens when experience meets expertise, when data meets dollars, and when steel meets earth.
What's next happens when the promising work of Pioneer's state-of-the-art research centers meets the unsparing challenges of more than 17,000 on-farm trials.
Our ultimate goal is to bring the next seed breakthrough to your field.
Because Pioneer isn't just our name.
It's our mission. Pioneer.
What's next
happens here.
I'm Lyndsey Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomist, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomist with me, Lyndsey Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome back to Real Ag Radio here on Rural Radio, Channel 147, Sirius XM. I am your host, Lyndsey Smith, and it is the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agriscience. We head now to near Renfrew, Ontario. Isn't it technically Douglas, Charlene Wattam?
Well, if we want to be perfectly technical, I'm suburban Douglas.
Oh, suburban Douglas. And if anyone who's been to Douglas knows, there's a large suburban area of Douglas.
Yes, very little metro, a lot of suburban.
A lot of suburban. All right. How many people do you think live in Douglas?
200?
Yeah,
maybe?
okay. Yeah, so there you go, everybody. Suburban.
Maybe including the cemetery?
Maybe. Depends if school is in or not. Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay. So what's keeping you busy this week?
Actually fairly quiet this week, which is nice. But yeah, getting back into things after the Christmas holidays, getting the kids back into school and everything.
Mm-hmm. Last week, I have to say, felt like 3 weeks all in one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very busy. Took in some of the virtual SWAC sessions.
Nice. Which one was your favorite?
I really enjoyed Steve Kell's take on the markets.
Oh.
He always gives a really neat perspective.
Yes. Did he have good news? Because not many people do. So what was unique about it?
He's very grounded, very down to earth in his outlooks, and I just enjoy hearing what he has to say.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I do too. He's a great presenter, and always good to hear from Steve. So that is pretty cool. Now, it is neat to have that online option for something like SWAC. Is this now sort of a new tradition for you that you take it in? Did you ever go in person?
I have never been to SWAC in person because traditionally the weather on the roads is horrible. So going that distance is not really a good strategy. But for me, I was a huge early adopter of any of the education events that were available virtually. I really enjoy that. I've done a lot of like Grey Bruce Farmers Week. Mm-hmm. Presentations too, and again, never been there, but they have a really great week, and they've always been really, really good to provide a virtual option. So, really like supporting that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Grey Bruce is another one. I've done that one online. Also, never gone in person. SWAC I've only been to once. Twice. So yeah, but that was for work. So it's kind of different because it's a heck of a trek for those of us from Eastern Ontario. So I also enjoy the online option, which is always a lot of fun. Was there a particular topic you were interested in hearing about this year, or that you'll be sure to follow up on with some of the recorded sessions?
Not really anything specific, everything in general. Just, getting caught up, getting updated, what's new out there and what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you still have the goats?
We have very few goats left now, actually. We've kind of had to make a bit of a pivot in our farming career. Ryan has some back issues and stuff from his life of farming. And so it's kind of led to us making a bit of a pivot and having to reduce our livestock just because it's just too much.
It is a lot. Yeah. And now has downsizing has it gone well? Like, has it been the needed reprieve that definitely you were looking for?
Yes, it's been a huge change and a very one in that way. Led to a lot of good improvements and just not being so worn down. So it's hard on one side, but then it's been the right decision on the other side.
Awesome. So yeah, I love goats, but they're a lot of work.
Yes, yeah, more than you think. Yeah.
For being, not that large and quite friendly, you'd think this can't be that hard. It is very hard, everyone. Very.
To do it well requires a lot of management. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, they are not set it and forget it kind of livestock. That is for darn sure. But good. I'm glad to hear that change is hard, but change is often required, and it's nice when it works out how you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Okay, so my question of the week has nothing to do with that, but it's a pretty big one. Regardless, and sort of in light of course, next week, President-elect Donald Trump will enter his second administration in the U.S. And he, of course, has made passing remarks about potentially coming over and taking Canada or whatever it might be, turning us into a state. And that, of course, has sparked many conversations about, do we want that? Do we not? Not going to ask that. But I think what it has done is it certainly has sparked this conversation of what it means to be Canadian, of why we're different, of how we're different. And so that is the question that I'm asking this week. What do you think for you? What does it mean to be Canadian?
For me, being Canadian means being caring of people as a whole, and where the U.S. is kind of that melting pot. I think as Canadians we appreciate other people's differences and what they kind of bring to the mix, and I think that is a big part of what makes us different.
I agree. Great answer. I like that. There is no wrong answer, of course, because it is how we all feel about it. And frankly, people are going to feel differently. But I like that one. I would agree with you. And that, I think that's on my list too, is I think that we appreciate differences and celebrate them and are very much okay with that. And maybe more so than some of our neighbors. And I think that's good. I think that's cool.
Just a different overall cultural feel on that aspect, I think.
Yep. I think so too. Very cool. All right, Charlene, we're going to leave it there. Any big plans for the week ahead?
Doing a little bit of time at the local outdoor rink with the youngest. She's enjoying the skating these days. Trying to pry the older one off of her technology and keep her, moving.
Yep.
It's always a challenge.
Sounds a lot like my kids. Yep.
Yeah. It's that stage, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We also, my youngest, she's 7. She's definitely into the skating right now too. And it's a lot of fun. I think, on the list of things to be Canadian, I think swimming is a life skill, but if you're Canadian, so is skating. So very important. Learn how to do it. Get out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Okay, Charlene, take care. We'll talk to you again.
Thanks, you too.
We are going to take a quick break, and I will be back with more of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agriscience, right after this.
RealAg Radio is Canada's only daily radio show focused on agriculture. Get expert advice on Agronomic Monday. Tuesdays and Wednesdays will cover a broad range of issues. Thursday we'll hear from farmers across the country on the Farmer Rapid Fire. And we'll wrap things up Fridays with the RealAg Issues panel with Kelvin Hefner and Lyndsey Smith. Join us Monday through Friday at 4:30 Eastern. And don't forget about the replay at 7 in the morning on Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM.
Hi, I'm Bernard Tobin, host of the Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com. Throughout the year, on the Soybean School, we'll bring you timely agronomic video content from planting to harvest, from the latest agronomic research to the latest in production technology. Check out our massive video library on YouTube, RealAgriculture.com, or download the audio podcast versions wherever you get your podcasts. The Soybean School is brought to you by BASF and Syngenta Canada.
Welcome back to Real Ag Radio here on Rural Radio Channel 147, Sirius XM. I am the host of the day, Lyndsey Smith. And joining me now, it's Rhett Duke. He's a technical sales agronomist with Corteva Agriscience, covering southern Saskatchewan. Welcome here, Rhett.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Lindy. Appreciate the introduction. Happy to be here.
Yes. Okay. So it's your first time on the show. Super excited. Glad to have you here on the Farm Rapid Fire. We are going to talk about, we are mid-January, if you can believe it. And it does sort of feel like spring will be here before you know it. So what right now is keeping you busy helping with that planning process for 2025, getting that crop at the ground?
Yeah, for sure. So at this time of the year, in my role as a technical sales agronomist, really starting to chat with both retail as well as farmer customers around the importance of planning for pre-seed weed control.
Yeah, that is a huge one.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, part of that, one of the main messages we have here at Corteva and, common knowledge in the agronomy segment is that the importance of that application is absolutely paramount in producing a high yielding crop.
So thinking about, sometimes we don't have the greatest conditions at seeding. We always hope for the best conditions. We want some moisture, but then we want the rain to stop so we can get the crop in. And sometimes that window is tight. But what is the risk of not doing that pre-seed pass? If, if we're in a tight window, what's our risk? What do we potentially leave on the table if we can't get that pre-seed pass done?
Yeah, for sure. So that's a great question, Lyndsey. I think some of the things we're leaving to chance and neglecting to do that pre-seed burn off is we really create an environment that's inducing a lot of competition to that early emerging crop. And, some of those competition factors would be robbing the soil of that critical soil moisture we just mentioned, as well as some of the expensive fertilizer nutrients we may have placed in the ground already. And then ultimately that sunlight factor, right? And I think if we take the time to do a proper pre-seed application, we're really minimizing that competitive pressure from weeds and ensuring that crop, whatever it may be, is coming out into a nice clean field. And that's something that's in our control as producers here.
So now if I'm, a farmer that has tried to do a pre-seed pass, but maybe it hasn't always been, the absolute have to do it, what are some of the key things to remember? Should I be scouting for what my weed spectrum is? Should I be tank mixing? What are some of the best management practices I could be doing?
Yeah, 100%. So I think first and foremost is just trying to put a plan together before we get into the busy season, right? It's often common for my position as you get very close to the season and people are thinking about loading up with just Group 9 glyphosate by itself. And I think that poses a huge risk to not only letting herbicide-resistant weeds proliferate within the field, but also, leaving that overall herbicide efficacy to chance. And I think in a lot of cases where we're selecting value-add products, examples of stuff here from Corteva, stuff like Corex2 ahead of the cereal acre, or even Prospect ahead of canola, really help to alleviate some of that Group 9 selection pressure from when we are spraying glyphosate by itself.
Now, we also sometimes deal with perhaps a change in weather down to cool temps. Should I worry if I've got a plan together, I've got my products, but the temp turns kind of cool? Would I delay? Or if it's dry enough, do I go? This is a tough question when time is tight.
Yeah. So this is a common one, and quite frankly, one we seem to always be up against here in Western Canada is those dry, cool conditions. But I guess from my chair, I've never had customers come back and say, man, I really regret taking that pre-seed application down. It's always the opposite. It's, you know what? I'm staring down the barrel of 2 to 3 leaf crop and I'm looking at coming in for my in-crop pass. And you know what? I already have flowering size and stage of weeds out there. So I think it's really, really important that pre-seed application. It just takes a lot of pressure off that in-crop one, allows us to kind of start clean and stay clean. So one other thing to consider when we're making those applications under dry and cool conditions, which we're typically up against here in Western Canada, is that we still need to have actively growing weeds out in the field. And one of our proprietary active ingredients here at Corteva Agriscience, the RealAg Active, is specifically designed and proven under those adverse weather conditions. So a couple of products we have here at Corteva, Paradigm Free, as well as that Prospect product I mentioned, those would be excellent options when we're up against those conditions.
Now, in thinking about, so you obviously cover a big part of the province. Generally speaking, here we are sort of, approaching midwinter, we'll call it. How do the moisture situations look out there? I almost hesitate to ask because it's been so tough some years that it's always one of those sticking points. But how is it looking generally anyway?
Yeah, for sure. So I think for us in southern Saskatchewan, we still are in a bit of a moisture deficit situation. Obviously, as we look at the southwest corner, they would be in a bit tougher shape than we would be over here in the southeast, kind of where I reside. But either way you stack it, looking out the window right now here on January 15th, happy to say that we do have some fairly decent snowpack and snow coverage across the south. And that is a little bit atypical coming off the last few years. So, I hate to call it a drought buster right now, but it's sure nice to see that snow on the ground. And, I think with some timely spring rains, which is what we always count on here in Western Canada to get us out of the ground and growing, I think that should shape up really, really nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, part of, being ready for that pre-seed burn-off, for that pre-seed pass, as you mentioned, is planning. What beyond products, which I think is really key, and you've touched on, making sure that you've chosen the right product for that field. What else goes into that planning process as far as getting product in place in time? Are we anticipating that we might be short on anything, or is it just we've still got time, but call your retailer and get things in place?
Yeah, no, I think we still have lots of time here now on January 15th. Definitely not anticipating any product shortages in terms of that pre-seed herbicide category. But I think the best thing growers can do for just peace of mind, knowing that they have that part of the plan kind of cooked and baked before we head into the busy season, is to make that call to the retail or, your product agronomist and just make sure you talk through that plan. And I think, outside of considering, okay, what crops am I growing? What's the primary weed spectrum am I going after? Is what products have I used in the past? And do I have an opportunity to maybe change it up a bit and step away from, say, products I had been using for the past 3 to 5 years and deploy something new on that acre? Because Mother Nature isn't stupid. If we get predictable, they're definitely gonna win every time. So that's definitely a message I like to make sure people understand.
Keep Mother Nature guessing. I like it.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, not predictability. Okay, I love it. All right, Rhett, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Really appreciate it, and good luck with the planting season.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lyndsey. Appreciate it.
All right, with that, we wrap up another edition of the Farmer Rapid Fire, brought to you by Corteva Agriscience. Head on over to corteva.ca for more information. All right. It is, as we mentioned, this week, it is Crop Week in Saskatoon this week. Next week is another busy one. It will be Manitoba Ag Days in Brandon next week. I will not be there. Actually, the RealAg team is getting together in Toronto next week. So for those of you looking for Calvin, I don't think he's going to make it either. But you know what? We are going to try. We can't be everywhere, but we certainly do try. Now, if you, as I mentioned, if you've got feedback on today's show, especially if you want to answer that question that I asked about what it means to be Canadian, would love to get your feedback. You can always call the RealAg listener line, 1-855-776-6147, or you can zip me an email, lsmith@realagriculture.com, or of course, Sean Haney as well, your regular host, shaney@realagriculture.com. And you can find us at Real Agriculture across all our social media platforms. One last thing I wanted to mention, because of course I won't be on the issues panel tomorrow. There will be, though, of course, just so much to unpack after this week. We do have a better idea of who's in the Liberal leadership race. We may have some answers, maybe about the capital gains tax and what's happening there. I know we discussed that last week, and we maybe have a few new details. We've got this new council that's been put together on the trade file, and we've also had, of course, this Bunge Viterra deal go forward, which we are getting some pretty significant criticism from the farming community on this deal going forward. The Grain Growers of Canada have come out and have said that they're quite disappointed in the parameters that the federal government has put out for this deal to go forward. They're saying they're quite disappointed and that more should have been done to potentially maintain competition in some of these areas. So we will have thoughts, of course, from Crop Week that Sean will bring to the show as well, and some discussion on this Bunge Viterra deal as well, because I'm certain there'll be many of you that have some thoughts on that one too. I did want to mention, if you missed Monday's episode of The Agronomist, it was all on artificial intelligence. We talked about it. I know Pete and Sean talked about it on Monday's show. And if you missed it, you can head on over to our YouTube channel, go to the live tab, and you will see the past agronomists are all there. We've had 181 episodes, if you can believe it. And coming up this week, so coming up on Monday night, the 20th, I will be talking about phosphorus and phosphorus fertilizers, phosphorus soil fertility, how phosphorus phosphorus works in the soil and why we have to think about when phosphorus is actually available to the plant, when the plants need phosphorus, and why certain fertilizers perhaps don't necessarily add as much phosphorus that we think they maybe do. It doesn't disappear, everybody, unless you're losing topsoil. The phosphorus is still there, but it most certainly gets tied up in those soil particles and isn't always available to the plant. So that is the topic on Monday night. So that's 8 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. I think we might even be able to add TikTok if that is where you spend your time. So yeah, check that out for sure. A few topics that are coming up. I wanted to mention, in that if, this coming Monday doesn't work, don't worry. There are plenty of other Mondays yet to come. We'll be talking about the YEN project in a couple weeks. So that's the Yield Enhancement Network, the Great Lakes Yield Enhancement Network, about wheat. We are going to talk about spot spraying solutions and technology there. Don't worry, I will work in a few livestock adjacent topics because I know it's agronomy. It's all about plants, but frankly, integrating livestock into some of our fields is more common in some ways and certainly important as well to consider. And frankly, if all crop farmers had access to manure, they would probably use it. Anyway, so there you go. Okay, we're going to wrap it up for today's show. Thank you so much for joining me here on RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147, Sirius XM. Your regular host, Sean Haney, will be back tomorrow, 4:30 Eastern. We'll talk to you then. Cheers, everybody.